can do anything. It's just if you want to do it. So many people try to be something that they're not. Everything that keeps on popping up is the importance of a network. I think it gives you that North Star of wanting to win. What sort of person would it make me if I accept help from people but don't give help back? Where I am now is still not where I want to be, and it's the best feeling. Great question. Any opportunity I get, I'm never going to speak to you.
So we're here for our first episode of Losing the Plot, which stemmed from us talking about we want to do a podcast and a lot of debate in the office on what's the format. I personally wanted to head down the conversational route, try to learn a bit about the people that we are interviewing or speaking with, professionally and personally. Very, very pleased to have Benji, a good friend and colleague in the industry, who is very much, for me at least, been at the forefront of social media. It's funny, I used to take the piss out of him a lot, putting his videos on in the changing room of football, and now I sit here today and he's done the same back to me. We've been very fluid to this point and now it's feeling a bit professional, so hopefully we're going to try drop that down and get into it. Starting with social media, I want to get your thoughts on essentially where you started on the journey and where you are now, because I think we are behind you and learning all about it. How do you feel where you are in your journey and where it's going on the social media front?
Well, the first thing I'll say is I would probably look back at my first few videos and absolutely cringe. But you've got to start somewhere, right? You don't get to where you want to get to without, going through the journey. I mean, where I am now is still not where I want to be. I've been doing this for, 6-7 years now. I was quite fortunate that I had, a mentor in Daniel Daggers, who was, spearheading the whole social media side of things. So when I would go a week or two without posting, would then get a call, from Danny being like, haven't seen anything, need you to post, need you to get your face on camera. So I was fortunate that I had...
Did you want to do it?
No, I didn't. And, the truth is, probably even now, I don't enjoy doing it, but I see the need from a business point of view and the longevity of my brand, that I need to do it.
And do you really feel that yourself?
Yeah, I do. When I was doing it and I was doing it better, I still would be like, why am I doing this? But now I really see the value in it. I get business from it. I'm building my brand. But also it was when I was, at a big corporate company and thinking of leaving, I was like, well, when I leave, I need to have my network. I need to have my community rather than taking a database. Well, I'll just take my social handles, which I own, which are my own, and I've got my little community there of people that follow me. But it's hard, social media. Hats off to you guys. I know obviously you just mentioned that I'm now taking the piss out of you in terms of content that you're creating in a good way, and everything goes round in full circle. But it's great what you guys are doing. I think it's super important, because you guys will get business from the posts that you're all doing. People might watch this and see things that you say and like how you hold yourself and like your morals, and they'll be like, that's someone that I want to do business with. Because nowadays the information is out there that anyone has access to. It's the person who's delivering that message is what really counts. And I think this is where a lot of companies go wrong, that they don't put the individuals at the front of the business and at the front of the content.
So out of interest, so you were talking before about how building your network, and rather than taking contact list, you're going, I'm taking my Instagram handle, etc.
Yeah.
But isn't that maybe why companies aren't wanting people to put themselves forward? Because 100%. It's like going, you're pushing your own personal brand. And then 100%. I wonder if, I know corporates or whatever, you probably had a work number at Knight Frank, and when you're done, you lose that work number. You have to build your own personal number back up again. Have you, is anyone at DDRE or anywhere you hearing where people are owning their employees' Instagram handles, trying to control that?
So I'm quite fortunate that I have a lot of people in the industry, which I take so I'm honoured that people come to me and ask me questions, ask me for support, for advice. And there are people, I won't name names, in very large companies that are not incentivized or actually told not to be posting content, personal content.
Yeah.
They can post photos of the properties that they're selling.
Yeah.
But in terms of having their own handles and having their own face and growing their own personal brand, they're not allowed to.
Personal brand within property, or just like personal brand?
Personal brand in property. I mean, they're out.
Yeah.
Anyone's allowed their personal page, right? You can do whatever you want. They can't really control that. But in a working environment, if it's properties that are being listed by said company, individuals aren't allowed to post it themselves. With their own kind of face on and those sort of things. And I think that's crazy. And that's what us as a business, we're trying to do. That historically it's been the brand will sit here and the agents will sit behind.
Yeah.
We flipped it the complete other way, that it's the agents sit at the front and the brand sits behind just there to support you.
Yeah.
Because it's all about the person.
Yeah, I agree.
It's all about the person. But yes, there are people that aren't allowed to do what we're doing, as an example, which I think is crazy.
Yeah.
But and the agents know it, by the way, and they know that they're being told to hide behind the company's brand.
Is this agents at all ends of the spectrum, or do you think it's like newer, younger agents? Let's say you're under 22, 23. So let's say if you left school at 16 to 18, you might have 3 years experience. If you left uni, you've got 1 or 2 years of experience. Is it those sorts of people that are being held back from doing it, or you think it's like even people up to...
If you're in the industry, if you're in certain companies that don't want to move with the times and don't want to make the agents the focus of the business, it doesn't matter what age span you are. If you're in certain businesses, they just don't endorse it.
Interesting.
But going back to your point, I think it's the newer agents, the brokerage style agencies that really understand the importance of social media and really push that.
Yeah.
Because, nowadays, like, although you and I haven't dated in years, when you go on a date, the first thing you'd probably do is you'd go and look at that person on Instagram.
Yeah.
You'd see mutual friends and those sort of things. Now people do that in a work capacity. When people go to meet someone, when I go to potentially take on a new listing, I know my client will do research on me. I do my research on them on LinkedIn and those sort of things, but I know they will type in my name on Instagram. And if I was in one of those companies that didn't endorse it, all they would see is property, nothing personal. They would know nothing about me.
Yeah.
Whereas because our company endorse social media, they'll go on my profile. They'll see who my wife is. They'll see where I play football. They'll see who I support, what I do on my weekends. And before I've even met them, they know me.
Yeah.
And that's the power of socials.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I'm interested in terms of curation of what you put out there social media wise. Are you trying to put like a who you're trying to represent and be, or is it like this is exactly who I am? Like, where do you sit in that spectrum?
It's a really good question. It's a hard one. Because a lot of things that I think are funny are not funny, right?
I 100% agree with that.
And you know that because you know me. But so this is where I find the balance of being myself, but also not being weird. Because like everyone's their own person, right? And I sometimes will type in a caption and I'll post it and I'll get a message from Talia or over Friday night dinner from my in-laws. Talia's dad will be like, it's too salesy or something. So, like good constructive feedback that I need.
It's too not like you.
No, it is me.
Yeah.
But they're saying it doesn't perhaps come across in the best way possible.
Okay.
And it's finding the balance of being genuine, authentic, being yourself.
Yeah.
But not like you need good content that users are going to engage with. So it's finding that balance. But the one of the problems with socials is that so many people try to be something that they're not.
Yeah.
Because Instagram is a snapshot of reality of one moment in time. It's not someone's life. And I think actually what I've realised is my content that is more raw and more genuine and authentic, that perhaps give more of an insight into not negativity, but downtime that I'm having that isn't, the shiny, bright, shining lights. People actually engage more in that.
Yeah.
So it's just making it genuine and authentic. And I've got, colleagues and people that I've advised, you go on their profile and you'll look like that. It will give the impression that they're on top of the world, super successful. But then I'll meet them for a coffee and they're, stuck at home crying, not happy. It's...
Yeah, I completely agree. And you touched on a word which, for me, has become like increasingly more important, which is being authentic or authenticity. And it's why when you text me saying like, what should I wear? I was like, wear whatever you want. Because I wanted to be like, which Benji's going to turn up? How are you going to present yourself? I was consciously thinking about it, going, I'm going to wear what I wear to the office or or on the weekend or whatever, I'm very casual. I'm wearing our branded t-shirt, trousers, whatever.
You got branded trousers?
I don't know why I said branded trousers. Branded t-shirt, / trousers, very casual, trainers, etc. But that's because I personally wanted to go, okay, in the working life and personal life, I want to be consistent, authentic, no matter what. And what you said is interesting in terms of like, how do you slightly tailor it so it's not too jokey or far-fetched? And Charlie and I, we discuss this all the time in terms of what's just fun and we're creating good content, and what's like, well, actually that looks a bit naff and we're not representing ourselves well enough as a business.
Everything we do, when you leave the house now, whatever you're wearing, let's say you decided to wear a t-shirt and shorts, you never know when you're going to meet someone that is, for us, we're talking about business, right?
Yeah.
Who is a potential client. And if I don't hold myself to a high standard always, which is hard, right, to not be able to switch off.
Yeah.
It's not just for the podcast, it's wherever we go, the restaurants we go to, where you walk the dog, you never know who you're going to meet and have a conversation with.
But do you think how you're dressed affects that?
I do.
Okay.
I think significantly less so in today's day and age.
Yeah.
When I started at Knight Frank, I would never dare leave my house not wearing a suit, not wearing a white shirt, not wearing a tie and smart shoes. Now,
did you feel comfortable? I want to touch about this, about like what you were made or forced to do in Knight Frank, both what you wear professionally versus where you are now.
Yeah.
Were you turning up going, oh, I've got to wear a suit, or was like, this is just standard, I'm not even thinking about it?
At the beginning, I just came out of uni, so wearing a suit, a shirt and a tie was bizarre, right?
Yeah.
But it kind of just became the norm. And then, things started to change. And then actually you'd realise you'd go and you meet someone, you'd walk down a high street, you stood out like a sore thumb, you knew you were an estate agent, you'd go and meet someone. Let's say I was coming to meet you, I was coming to value this house.
Yeah.
You would be wearing this, smart casual, chilled, and I'd be sat here in a suit, shirt and tie.
Yeah.
There's automatically a barrier between us that we're not on the same page.
Yeah.
So I think, me dressing down, I still think I would
you
look
cater
smart.
to everything. Do you come in a blazer as well?
I didn't know.
Okay, I was about to say that with a blazer, you're catering to
But so
everything.
this is how I'm thinking ahead in terms of how it's always important. I've got a spare change of clothes in my car because later on I've got an important meeting. So I've got a suit and a shirt in my car because I know the person who I'm going to be meeting, if I turn up like this, would probably be mortified.
Yeah.
So you've always got to be switched on and thinking, I am my brand. Like, I am my own person, that I never know who I'm going to meet. Yeah. I've always got to be switched on.
Yeah. I perhaps personally probably go too much on the authentic side because I'm like, I'm just going to wear what I'm going to wear. Like, if I drop Frankie off at school, for example, I know, granted, there's actually people I have met through school that are related or I can do business with. But like, sometimes I've turned up on a Friday, like if I'm going for like a cold swim after whatever, and I'll be literally in my swimming trunks and like my huge
But that's
coat.
So okay.
Yeah.
Because that's you, right? Yeah. And this is where it's so important that everyone, not saying you are, that there are other people that will see this thing that is the norm, right? Suit, shirt, tie, smart shoes.
Yeah.
But you're not being yourself. So when you go, let's say you turn up in a suit, shirt and tie, you personally, to a meeting, and then you got to know the person and they actually realise you like doing cold plunges, you love your weird, crazy Crocs, whatever colours you have, and they know that that's you. You're not being yourself wearing those sort of clothes. And therefore, by you being yourself, you will meet other people and connect with, whether it's professionally or in personal, you'll connect with other people like yourself.
Yeah. I find that's the biggest thing.
Yourself.
Yeah. But even if they're not someone doesn't have to be the same as me, I just find that by, let's say, bringing down my barriers in terms of who or what I'm trying to be and just going, I'm being me, I find that the connection I make with someone now is like so much quicker. 100%. And I'll just be like, I think it's bringing down that like, I'm not perfect, not trying to be perfect, learning along the way. And instantly someone else I find is then talking about their own shortcomings, their own challenges, whatever. And I find that I end up being more in sync with someone and like, we're both working towards where we want to be.
And you'll be happier. You'll be more comfortable. You'll be more genuine in that meeting and those conversations, not, with a stiff tie and stiff collar.
Yeah.
You'll just be chilled.
Exactly. So on that note, I want to talk about, if you were to be finishing uni again now, would you go to Knight Frank or DDRE?
Great question. I've not really sat and thought about that. I could have an answer for both ways. I think what we're doing at DDRE Global is, I think we are revolutionising an industry. I think we're at the forefront of that with the importance of the individual, with the importance of social media, the content that we create around homes and how you sell property and collaboration. We're definitely at the forefront of that. So would I want to be in that sort of business? Yes. There will always be a space for a big corporate.
But I'm saying starting out.
So
only from that mindset.
So coming onto it. And I've been doing a lot of thinking and research at the moment, and everything that keeps on popping up is the importance of a network of people that you can, rely on, ask for favours, but also get business from. And starting out afresh, and again, as I touched on before, I have a lot of young people reaching out. How do I get to where you get to? You've got to. I think it's because of the hard graft and the networking and the Saturdays and the Sundays and the early starts and the late finishes that I did at Knight Frank in building my network to get me where I am now. I don't think I would be the agent I am now without the hard graft that I did over 8 years at Knight Frank. Yeah. So part of the advice that I give to someone that doesn't have a network, if you have a network, you need to come and join DDRE straight away. Yeah. You have the tools to support you and you can flourish with that network. If you don't have a network, I don't know how... It would be very hard going into a brokerage without a black book of clients, because you don't get fed business. And when you're at a corporate, you do. Yeah,
and similarly, do you ever think, I want to hire someone fresh out of uni? Has anyone in DDRE at this point gone, we want to create the perfect agent? Or actually, do you want someone who's got their grounding in the industry, has built themselves up, got that base knowledge, and then it's like, how can you now fly?
It's very difficult, and it's something I'm thinking about right now, because I'm in this period where I want to think growth mentality. I want to, I think I've done well in the 3 years that I've been at DDRE. I don't want to just stay at this level. I want to go and build a team. I want to have, more people joining my team that can go out and, I can mentor. I'm a big believer that I've been helped massively, that I then want to go and help other people. And I don't know is the honest answer. I think perhaps a hybrid between the two, or maybe one of each. You have someone who comes in that can stand on their own 2 feet, that can go and win their own business, or someone that we know, like a Ruben, for example, who I think about often, how I can incorporate that into my team.
Do you think you can?
Well, yes, the answer is yes. Yes, you can. You can do anything. It's just if you want to do it. Yeah. It would be harder for me, because obviously, although having said that, he has opened a couple of doors for me and a couple of listings, I have to look at that realistically within the first year, maybe even 2 years, he might not bring any money in. Yeah. And ultimately, as a business, that's not a good business decision. But then on the flip side...
Yeah, but you're not making that decision for a year or two.
But then on the flip side, you have to look at it long term and big picture. And I think he has something, he has something deep in his belly that if he's going to make something of his life, he has to do it. Yeah. And I see a lot of myself in him, which ironically, the mentor that I had, I think was the same the other way around. And as I said, I want to help people and help people grow. So I think there is a space for people who have zero experience, that you can mold them into how I see as a good agent. But then, you could also have someone come into the business that goes and brings in 10 listings on day one.
I guess from the outside, I'm thinking, is it hard if you bring someone in and going, okay, we're listing really top property. How do you get someone to cut their teeth with top property?
Yes, it's hard, because the person who's selling that property, wouldn't want a 21-year-old junior showing that home. I mean, I would mentor that person, so I would still hold the keys, but that person would shadow me. Yeah. I wouldn't, for the benefit of my client, not saying that the junior would not be capable enough, they would, but I wouldn't want someone junior to be showing a £10 million home. Yeah. That's not what my client would expect, because that's also one of the USPs, that when I take on a listing, it's me and only me, and that's who they get.
Yeah.
You know, whereas in other companies, you might meet a valuer, you'll never hear from that person again, and then it's the juniors that are showing that property.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to fall into that, but I think it's just about hand-holding that person and growing, making them grow. But you know, whilst we do between 3 and 12, well, that might be my bread and butter. You know, I have listings at various different price points below that.
Do you have, like, I was about to say, do you have like any 500 to 800 grand flats?
Yeah.
Oh, fine. So you do have things that aren't the mega bucks.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Okay. So you do have stuff where someone like Ruben or someone fresh in the industry could go, okay, after a couple of viewings, I'm going to let them take one.
Yeah, most definitely.
And I don't want to say to the person who owns that flat, well, it's not that important, but one where you can go, okay, I can take this risk and let them
100%. And listen, I think as long as I'm transparent and open with my client, for example, let's say I take on a listing, I might take said person with me on that meeting. I would obviously lead it. They might not have much value to add, but when there is value, they can chip in and they can say whatever they want to say. And I would explain to the client that it will be both myself and Joe dealing with this property. So they know that it's both of us. But then really, if it's, you know, at £1 million, for example, then maybe that person can, you know, run the show on it. The leads that come in can get distributed to that person and they can do the viewings. I will oversee everything. And when it's conversations with the client with feedback on viewings, offers, I will most definitely be on top of it and can, again, handhold that person to show them. But yeah, most definitely. And that's, you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And the people who are selling those properties understand that. Like, there's a reason why they own a 1, 2, 3 million pound property, because they're successful. They've built businesses, and they understand that you have to start somewhere. So I think clients are very understanding of that.
Yeah. And on that note, in terms of someone's journey and their growth, and you said just before that people come to you to say, how do you get to where you are, etc., etc. How do you feel about where you are right now? And I was thinking about this morning when I was walking. How often do you stop and go, oh, I've actually come quite a long way. I'm doing okay.
So,
or doing well.
I'm thinking about these sort of things more as I'm getting a bit older. I mean, I'm getting a bit older, I'm 31. And that's the other thing that I always think.
So when you say you're thinking about them more, as in reflecting more?
Yeah, self-reflection on me, on where I am, where I want to go, how far I've come. And I think you obviously don't want to sound like arrogant and say, yeah, I'm doing really well. But
can I ask a question here?
Yeah.
And you've been part of this. So audience here, big shout out to my life coach, Josh Feynman, who says to me, when talking, try to talk from I and me, not from you and we.
So yeah, I don't want to sound too arrogant, but I do, when I do reflect, I do kind of sometimes pinch myself and think, wow, because I've got really big visions and dreams, and I, you know, want to do so much. And then I look at myself and I'm okay, well, I'm not there yet, but at 31, you know, I was youngest partner at Knight Frank. I'm now dealing with the most beautiful homes in prime central London. As an estate agent of what I do, it is pretty good.
Yeah,
and I do sometimes, I am quite harsh on myself, and I don't often sit and think, you know, to give myself a pat on the shoulder, because I'm running around at 100 miles an hour. There's so many different things going on, work, personal, football. You don't really have time to sit and think. But when I do, I am proud of myself. But I think when I think of that, I think, well, actually, there's still a lot more to go as well. So whilst I'm proud of where I've got to, it's nowhere near where I want to finish.
Yeah. I think that is probably part of human nature as well. I know I'm the same. I'm always thinking, how am I going to get to this stage? And really often I don't appreciate, okay, I've actually done a lot. I was thinking about it recently, like we're about to come out of a deal. And I know it's really, for me, it feels really minor that like, oh, I bought something, got planning, sold it. But then I was thinking, actually like 6 years ago, whatever, the thought of that went like, I was like, yeah, I'm putting my balls in line, I back this. I'm going to go get the planning. I'm dealing with the sale. I've dealt with all the finance around it. I was like, oh, actually, I could not do this 5-6 years ago. And I knew bits of it, but now I realise I know a lot more, and putting those things together. Still way more to go, like as you said. But yeah, I find it quite important to go, okay, I have actually learned a lot.
Yeah.
I'm in a way further forward place than I probably appreciate.
Yeah. Look, it's so important, that self-reflection side, because as you said before, you know it, you're the person you want to be, but because you're always... I'm the person you want to be. I'm the person I want to be. But you're in the hamster wheel that you're running around, that sometimes if you don't stop and reflect, as you just said, well, actually 5 years ago, I would never have been able to sell a £10 million house in Highgate.
Yeah.
But I just did it.
Yeah.
You know.
And did you even find it that difficult?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't. If anything, it was actually probably...
You sold it really quickly,
It was probably one of the easier sales that I did. Yeah. But yeah, self-reflection is super important. And yeah, I don't often do it, but I am happy with where I am. But then I also think, well, actually, I'm young. Like, I'm 31.
You've only been working for 10 years, which is mental.
And that's the other thing that excites me, that I see people around me who are in perhaps the positions that I want to be in, who are 45, 50, 60. And I'm like, well, hang on. Is it going to take me 15 years or 20 years to get to where they are? And I think this is where it's really exciting as a young person coming into any industry, that I think nowadays people can win bigger and faster because of, with social media, with technology, with AI, with everything that's, you know, coming along. I think it's a lot, I wouldn't say a lot easier. I think it's easier for people to win quicker. So I'll give you an example.
In our industry, or saying generally?
Yeah, in our industry.
Yeah.
You know, things like, you know, all these amazing posts you're doing, for example, 10, 15 years ago, well, I don't know when, like, LinkedIn, for example, started, people who were looking for land, they didn't have those sort of, you know, places and platforms where they could post content for free. You know, they might have to spend thousands to go in newspapers and magazines. You know, you have an opportunity that you can hit thousands of people.
Yes, but I think the competition, therefore, is
higher.
way higher.
Sure, I get that, but that's where, again, the individual side of it and you standing out is super important, building on what we said before. But going back to the original question, where it all started from, which was a great question, I think I would still do the same journey that I went on. If I didn't have a black book of clients and I was fresh out of uni, I'd go to a big corporate and I'd learn, I'd make my mistakes. I'd try and get the best people around me that I can get as my mentor or ask questions, build my network the whole time, speak to everyone, call everyone, agents, lawyers, architects, buyers, sellers, just be that guy that, you know, is just on the phone the whole time. And then once I've built that, then go to a place that, you know, enables me to grow.
And you are obviously someone that is always trying to better themselves. You said it before, you're always, even though you're happy with where you're at, you're trying to go, how do I do the next phase? Bring in the question that my dad asked me on the phone just before, which I know is one of his favourite questions to ask people in interviews, especially if they play sport. Do you think how people are in sport, and with you especially, reflects how they are in work?
100%.
Talk to me about yourself. From a football perspective first.
I'm super competitive. The only thing I would say as I've got older is I've learnt how to control that competitiveness. When I started at 21, no one would get in my way. Like, and even
work or football.
Let's talk about work.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm trying to understand what.
But also, yeah, I mean, for example, let's say I'm running down the left wing, like, no one would get in the way. Like, I'm not going to kick the right back out of my way. Like, obviously I'm thinking...
But you
like,
had that full... Like,
I want to get past him. I want to get behind. I want to cross it in or have a shot, whatever. I want that end product, which is the result. You know, always chasing the result. But as in a work capacity, that competitiveness has... I would say I've tailored it to realising that actually I need the people around me. So, for example, if you put that on a football pitch, well, chances are I'm not going to be able to run past the whole team. But if I use my centre mid...
Well, one of your recent videos says otherwise.
Yeah.
But.
If I use my centre mid or I use the striker, you know, bounce a 1-2, you know, I've learnt to control that you can't just think, right, I'm here and I want to get here and nothing's going to stop me. Because I am super competitive and I just want to win. I have been very results driven. But then again, as I'm getting older, I've realised that being so obsessed with the result can actually go against you, that you can lose sight of how you actually get there. And whether it's work or whether it's football, like let's use football as an example. This year, for example, I want to score 10 goals and have 10 assists. You know, in the run up to Maccabea, hopefully in the summer, that's my aim. But just telling myself I want to get 10 goals and 10 assists, that's not going to happen. But if I go to training every Tuesday and I go to training every Thursday and I'm available every Saturday, I have good recovery sessions off on the off days. I turn up on time on a Saturday. I listen to what the coach says. I look at the tactics. I look at the team sheet. I put myself in a position when I walk on that pitch. Chances are I will probably get a chance to get a goal or an assist. And the same I've now... But
you're becoming more consistent with that? Because I think you've become more consistent in your performance.
So I'm becoming... Going back to what I was saying, I'm becoming more obsessed with the routine than the result.
Yeah.
Because you can't get to the result. If I don't go to training and I don't turn up and I eat shit on the weekends and I, don't have my recovery sessions, I will not perform as well on a Saturday, which reduces my chances of scoring or assisting. And the same is at work. If I say, right, this year I want to bring in £1 million of fees for the business. But if I'm not making the phone calls, if I'm not sitting at Chiltern Firehouse, I'm not going to the right places, I'm not dressing well, I'm not responsive on text calls, WhatsApps, emails, then the deals won't follow. So what I've realised is I think there is a lot of similarities, and I think someone who plays sports, I think in a sales environment or a results-driven environment, will do better if they're in sports. And my boss when I was at Knight Frank always liked people who were sportsmen, and looking back at the team that we had, everyone played sports, whether it was golf, whether it was football, because I think it gives you that North Star of wanting to win, because no one plays sport thinking I'm okay coming second. I don't think.
Or they're not going to do well.
Correct.
Probably.
Correct, exactly that. So I think
but also I think you can see you're saying about your boss who wanted to hire people that do sport. I also think with people who I know I played within sport, I know I can tell what they'll be like based on how they are in the game. And we were talking about someone before who I said I don't trust as a person based on how they are in and around sport.
There's a lot of overlap. Listen, it's who you are as a person. You can't be one person. Well, you can be, but most of the time you're not going to be one person on the football field and a completely different person in the office. When you have setbacks on a football pitch, when you go 1-0 down, are you that guy that's going to get everyone up, that's going to pick chins up, or are you going to be the guy that's going to be shouting at everyone, getting on top of everyone's back? Because chances are, if you do that on a football pitch, you'll do that in the office, because that's just how you are as a person. But I would say, as I'm getting older and more experienced and being on the football pitch and realising that actually as a unit, as a team, helping support other people, you get more out of people, which you can then use in a working environment. So I think there's a massive overlap between the two. And I think it's important, the sports side of it, fitness wise, mental health wise. I wouldn't be the same person in my working week if I didn't have my release of the football. Because it's super important to have that run around, to have that camaraderie of the football, in that changing room. Fine, there was a period of 6 weeks, whatever it was, where you all posted my first social media video where I was like, "Hi, welcome to Maida Vale." But I loved that. I loved that environment where no one's taking the piss out of you deeply from a bad place. It's just a bit of banter. I think football is and sports, I guess, is so important.
I think it's interesting, as I said as well, seeing where you're getting to, and let's say becoming more of a leader and helping other people grow on the football pitch. Perhaps before you even doing that, I've always seen you're very good in terms of giving back, in terms of time, money, charity, that sort of thing. You've been doing that for a long time. It's something I was always brought up with, was giving back in various capacities. Why is it something that's important to you? Because I see it's something that you've always done, not just because you have to.
I don't know. I think I like helping other people. For me, I get just as much of a buzz on a football pitch getting an assist as I do a goal. When I draw the ball across and you tap it in, I'll get as much of a buzz as that than I will scoring myself. I think a lot of it stems from that I do put a lot on it that I had I still have my mentor who helped me a lot. That I think,
are we talking about Danny, by the way?
Yeah, we're talking about Danny. That he's my mentor, and I've been helped so much to get to where I am that I just think it's my responsibility to help other people as well.
Yeah.
That what sort of person would it make me if I accept help from people but don't give help back? But what I'm also realizing as well is that, and you don't do it for that reason, but the more you help people, the more that ends up coming back round to you.
Try again.
The more that I help people, the more that people want to end up helping me.
That's a nice thing, that.
And it's a nice thing, you know, and it's again ties in with, I'm reading a book at the moment, and it talks about the network, the power of your network, and that people in the top tier understand that in your network, that when you help people, what goes around comes around. And then, you know, when you need help from someone else, you can call them and they can help you. No one's keeping tally, no one's keeping a tab of anything, but as long as you're part of that ecosystem, that when someone comes into it, you're the one that offers help to them. When you need help from someone else, they'll offer help to you.
So have you realised some of the times where, like, you've helped someone and you didn't even realise, and they've come back and been like, oh, Benji, by the way, you did this?
Yeah, and it's the best feeling.
Yeah.
Like, words don't, there's nothing that describes when someone says to me, you helped me. And again, it's something that I've become more aware of as I've got a bit older, as I'm maturing a little bit, that I get so much nachas from helping.
That's joy for anyone that's not Jewish.
You get so much joy from, you know, helping other people. And I don't know if it's, I had a conversation with someone, and I think maybe it ties into it. I used to smoke, don't smoke anymore. And I was in the smoking area when I was at Knight Frank with a young lady. She was quite a character. She was quite eccentric. And she said something to me that has stuck with me ever since. She was like, what do you think your funeral will look like? And I know that's quite deep. But often I think, like, if I were to pass tomorrow, what would my funeral look like? Who would be there? You know, who would be turning up just out of respect, but who would be turning up because they were genuinely upset? And part of my thinking is I want to help people to know that they will want to be at my funeral and say really good things. And I think that for some reason, I don't know why, but that conversation is just stuck in my head. And I'm not always, but I'm often thinking about that.
I know for me, for sure, like, I do way more with people that I like. Like, without a shadow of a doubt, I will give them more, be like, I want them to win.
Yeah,
so I'll give it to them.
100%. And again, you don't do the good deeds for ulterior motives. I think it's quite clear when people do that. But there are benefits, you know, from helping other people. You know, if I help, Ruben, for example, you know, I like to think I've helped him. He told me I helped him. I know he will go around talking about me to other people in a really good light. And all it takes is one person to hear about that. And then they see in 12 months' time, Ruben's working with me, and they're like, oh, okay, I'll give him a piece of business. You know, what goes around comes around. And I think that it works on the other way. If you're not a nice person and you're negative and you don't help and you don't give back, the same goes around. You know, people will talk about you negatively, you'll probably lose business and you won't go very far.
Yeah. I won't name the name or the business, but I had someone that I had it's called a run-in with. I must have been 23 or 24, something like that. And I introduced his company to a £9 million deal. I was like, they said they've got a buyer that's looking for this sort of thing. I was like, I actually know the perfect thing for you. Sent it to them, forgot about it. 2, 3, 4 weeks went by, and the person I was dealing with at the company said, oh, let's go for a catch-up lunch. I'm going to take you to this hotel, whatever. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I was like, why are you taking me out? But fine. We went there, and during the lunch, she said to me, like, by the way, I just wanted to say, you know that deal you introduced us to, the £9 million deal? We did the deal. And I was like, oh, wicked, amazing. She was like, and we wanted to give you this. And she passes over a Harrods bag, okay? And I was thinking, I want to get your thoughts. Have I told you this story before? No. So pass me over a Harrods bag, about this big. Okay, so relatively small Harrods bag. Yeah. What would you think was inside?
Well, I can assume it was like a little cake or something, but £9 million.
Obviously, you know that it's a shit one. But what would you thought?
Well, £9 million. The industry norm is going to be probably 0.5% as a thank you, which is going to be about 45k. So something it should be. I mean, small bag, I was thinking probably like a Hermes Birkin or something, which you might be able to pass on to Sasha.
Yeah. Okay, so same philosophy. I was thinking, oh shit, they've bought me a Rolex. I was like,
Okay.
they give me like, nice, thank you, like, here's a Rolex. And I was like, oh, this is sick.
Did you open it in front of them?
Didn't open it there.
Great shout.
We finished the lunch, left. I've opened it on the walk back to the office.
Thinking it's a Rolex,
Think
right?
it's a Rolex. Opened it, and it's a pen. Okay? And not like it wasn't a biro, but it wasn't like a nice pen. It must have been...
not like a Mont Blanc or something.
Not a Mont Blanc. I reckon up to £100 pen. And I was thinking, this is absolutely ridiculous. And I called my dad. I was like, Dad, this has happened. Like, I've introduced this deal. Agent said they look after me. This has happened. And my dad was like, arrange a meeting with the boss, the head of the company. Like, go and see him and talk to him. He was like, so, like, what do you want to talk about? I was like, look, I appreciate you giving me this, but I introduced you to a £9 million deal. Like, come on, that's a bit of a piss take. He's like, oh no, it's ridiculous. And like, we just weren't getting anywhere. And then he's like, oh, I can't deal with this. I'll leave you with her. And then he closes the boardroom doors and we speak. And she was like, I reckon I can get you this. Anyway, we agreed something. And I was just thinking, this guy's been so short-sighted to go, I'm going to screw him. And now won't get so many things off the back of it. As you said, it's like when people behave in the wrong way, it leaves a bad taste and it spreads beyond just one person.
100%. And it also, spreads beyond one person, spreads beyond that one deal. You know, I'm always thinking, you have to leave a situation where everyone wins.
Yeah.
Where it's win-win. Even if that guy, okay, 9 million, if he's a good agent, his fee is going to be 2%, 180k. You know, if he makes 180k or he makes, I said industry norm is 45k, let's say he makes 135,000.
Yeah.
He's still winning, right? He's still winning. You've walked away, you've brought the deal to him, you know, you're happy, he's happy. Whereas now, he's happy, but you're not.
Yeah, and I'm remembering this like 8 years later and I'll never forget.
The interesting thing is, even though you went back, you had the meeting and you got something, and you've obviously gone and bought a lovely ring, you still remember it.
Yeah.
It was because the initial thought for him was not to do it.
Yeah.
And I actually sometimes think that the result is still the same, even though you got whatever you got that was perhaps less than what you thought, that actually when you have to concede and he had to give you a bit of money, whatever, it still has the same effect.
Yeah. But also, if he'd have dealt with it in a different manner at that point and been like, actually, you're right, I'm sorry, let's do something fair. Then I go, all right, fine.
But then on the flip side, if
he didn't, he fought back.
Correct. Yeah. But on the flip side, if initially he would have just said, you've done this intro. Well, to be honest, you only found out about it because you went for coffee and someone told you, right? That if he would have kept you updated along the way, he would have said, just so you know, you'll pass us this deal. Yeah. It's under offer. I'll keep you posted on the next hurdle. You'd be like, wow, that's he could have hid that for me, and he's been a mention. He's told me about it. But irrespective, he could have just from the beginning said, here's your 0.5% whatever, and then you're probably for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, you're proactively thinking, what opportunities can I get him? Now you're thinking, any opportunity I'm never going to speak to you. Yeah,
100%.
And you'll probably tell other people, because you might have influence in the market, that someone will call you, be like, what do you think of this guy, blah, blah, blah. Be like, listen, I'm not going to speak badly about people, but maybe you want to speak to someone else.
Yeah.
And that's the property industry, that's why you've got to be so careful, because, you can make a great name for yourself very quickly, but you can also lose your great name also very quickly.
Very.
Which is why every action you do, every advice you give, every decision you make, it's hard because I've got to be, perfect, all the time.
I don't think you have to be perfect. I think as in you just have to try to do your best and behave in the right way, which I think like you do, which I think is why we've always got along, because I think our values are very similar.
Yeah. And actually I think as well, the key is communication, because obviously people have different views and people have different expectations. They expected they could give you a pen. You thought you're going to get a Rolex.
Yeah.
Right? If perhaps you would have had the conversation that when you offered them the deal, perhaps that's the time when you should have had a conversation being like, I expect this, not this.
And that's partially my fault, but I think perhaps because of how I am, if I say to someone like, I'll look after you, if something goes well, I'll look after them.
Yeah, it's like the deal that I sent you recently. I didn't even have the conversation with you about fees. Like, we've got that relationship, I don't need to worry about it.
Exactly.
That I know I'm going to get a pen.
Exactly. Get you a really nice pen. I'm going to switch up a little bit into a bit of personal stuff. Happy personal stuff. I want to talk a bit about Talia, your wife, and what she's done and meant for you throughout your life, and also like working life as a partner. Because it's quite a long question here, but I speak for it for myself. Sasha's been very key to me, not in terms of my work, but my stability around work and finding who I am. At your wedding, I don't know if you know, well, I'm sure lots of people have told you, I was like properly crying watching you.
I didn't know that.
I like watching you as Talia came down the aisle, and like you were just so like, you were so emotional and clearly just like so excited to marry her. I was like, that's the best fucking feeling. Like I'm getting a little bit teary now just thinking about like watching that all happen. I just want to get a bit more from you on what Talia has meant to you, how she has changed you, and I caveat this with a little extra thing, because funnily enough, my uncle, I can't remember how long ago it was, he was like, he mentioned you, and that my cousin had seen you, and that she was like, Benji's so nice, like he's so lovely, and like he was a bit of an arsehole in school. So I wanted to understand like what Talia's done for you, how she's changed you from, what's it, 20 to where you are now.
God, how long do we have? Talia's made me who I am. She is so supportive of everything, you know, that I have done, want to do. She's my backbone.
Yeah.
She allows me to go and make something of myself, knowing that everything at home, everything with her is all sorted.
But you chat to her about work as well?
We do, but she knows where I want to go.
Not about the specifics in terms of like, do you think I should agree this percent on that? Like, as in...
Sometimes I do, and she's just like, shut up. Yeah, look, we do communicate. We talk about anything and everything. But, you know, so a small thing that I'm thinking, for example, is, you know, I was in a very comfortable seat at Knight Frank, was a partner, you know, knew I was earning X amount every single year, and then I had an opportunity to go, you know, self-employed, have no guaranteed income. We just bought a house together, and most people would have been like, no, like let's...
Too big of a risk.
It's too big a risk, you know, let's stick with what we've got. And then I guess I just carry on and just be Joe Blogs and, you know, be part of that hamster wheel. But she was like, no, like, I think this is a really good opportunity for you to grow as a person, for you to grow as an agent. Hopefully, you know, financially is going to be better for you. And you know, if she said to me, I don't think this is a good idea, I probably would have, you know, put it back in the box and let it read.
Did she push you to do it? Was she like, yeah, go for it? Or was she just like, I back you?
Listen, I've got a very small circle around me. I don't want hundreds of friends. I don't want, you know, people that I can't rely on. But when the people around me support me in a decision, for me, it's done. Like, if I think something in my head that I want to do it, but people around me don't think that's a good idea,
you'll listen to them.
I'll listen to them and I won't do it.
Yeah.
If I think something's a good idea and the people in my circle think it's a good idea, like I'll go 110 miles an hour at it. And as soon as she said like, yeah, I think this could be good, I was like, okay, let's go. And just small things like that, just, you know, that reassurance of the key things in life, like she's the go-to for me. When you've got a happy home, like I feel like everything else is a lot easier.
Yeah.
And, you know, enables me to go and, you know, really flex at work and not have to think about, oh God, it's 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, got to go home, got all these problems to deal with.
Yeah.
Have none of that.
Yeah.
And I've gone through different things in the 10 years that I've been with Talia, and we've got through everything because we're a unit and we have each other. And she's also gone through, you know, things herself with family and stuff that I've been there for her. Like, we are very much each other's rocks, which is very reassuring.
I know it's cliche, but do you think it's very much made you stronger through those? Was it challenging for your relationship, or was it just that you were with each other through the challenges? Yeah,
we're with it, not challenge. Well, listen, I guess when you go through various things in life, you know, you then, if you're upset and you're aggy and you're not your actual self because of things that are going on in life, whether it's work, personal, you change as a person. And I think that's the real thing, is that the person I was when I was 20, when I met Talia, to the person I am now at 31, I'm a very different person. So the person that perhaps she fell in love with is a different person that is there today, which is why I think I touched on it before, communication is key. And, you know, having an open dialogue and talking, things are wrong, right, let's talk, what's the problem, can we solve it? If not, is it silly, let's just kind of move on from it. Having that communication is so important, because again, the person that I am today will be a different person that I am when I'm 41. And I need to make sure that Talia knows who that person is, and we're going on that journey together.
Yeah.
I know the changes that she's going through and that I'm going through, that, you know, that we still love that person that is evolving. And it's always a moving thing, right? I'm not the same person that I was, and I won't be the same person that I will be. So we talk a lot.
Yeah. Your parents got divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Something I've always found really nice and interesting is you refer to your mum and stepdad as your parents. Mm. And I'm speaking from the outside here, but it's always like, okay, it seems like that's the parental support you always needed. Mm. How do you feel about marriage given the context of your background and like, or seeing your mum now? Like, how do you feel about it all?
Obviously, coming from the fact that my parents got divorced, I was 8. It wasn't great. Me and my brother were political pawns between my parents. You know, having 2 households, every other weekend, going to your dad's, then you're back with your mum. You know, it put a question mark in my head. But I then turned it around, and as far as, right, that's my experience. I want to make sure that I do everything to correct that when I then, please God, have a family and have kids, that I don't put my kids through what I went through. Yeah. So I've kind of trying to get strength from what I went through to be a benefit moving forward. Yeah. But, you know, touching on what we said, I'm fortunate that I've got parents, that I've got a wife. I have this support network that I'll call my stepdad and be like, thinking about leaving like Frank, want to go to DDRE, these are the pros, these are the cons. And when I hear, yes, that's a good idea, I'm like, great, right, I can go, the world's my oyster. But then on the flip side, if it wasn't a great idea, I would also get that feedback and I'd be like, right, buckle down, carry on what I'm doing and keep on that path. I guess there is also, you know, at some point you need to take responsibility and ownership of who you are rather than having to always ask other people, which is something that I'm battling with in a certain way, having that responsibility of, right, I'm married, I'm, you know, got a house, need to start making my own and be my own person.
And it's a funny balance being like, for me, it's like, who am I supposed to be? Am I supposed to be like the man in the house, or am I actually still like finding my own way? Like,
I'm in exactly that place. I don't know with me if it's the fear of making a mistake, because I've always had, as I said, I've always had a safe network, you know, family, wife, work. When I was at KF, had, you know, safe network. Even now when I've been at DDRE, Danny has consistently fed me business, you know, so I've always been okay. Yeah. And I think it's taking that jump to being like, right, I'm going to stand on my own 2 feet, I don't need anyone else, and then be okay. I'm in that gap of being helped by people, but being aware that I want to do it myself. I feel I will only truly get the respect of those people around me who help me when I can go and do it without help.
Do you think that's how they feel, or that's just how you feel?
Maybe a bit of both. Probably more me.
Yeah.
Probably more me.
Is it you feeling, once I can do this without the help, I can stand on my own 2 feet?
Yeah. I'm looking at it from a work point of view, to be honest. You know, if let's say I've got 10 clients, at the moment I would say 60% of them are my clients, 40% are clients that Danny has given me. Yeah. I feel like only when I have 100% autonomy of my own stuff that the responsibility falls on my shoulders, that I make the decisions. I feel like only, I don't know, I'm going to say only then will I be able to be like...
Do you think you'll be like self-reliant? Like if in this hypothetical if that is there, what do you think you'll feel when you get there?
I don't know, because I've often been told what to do. Whether that's, you know, at home with, you know, my dad and my stepdad, who I absolutely love, but, you know, as a kid, you are given, you know, guidelines of what you do, what you don't do,
and you sort of have to follow.
And you have to follow, but as a kid, you don't understand that. Yeah. But every kid needs that, and I'm so appreciative of that, you know, of the guidelines that my stepdad gave me. But when you're growing up, you don't feel it's your decision. You know, then I was, you know, in a corporate company where, again, you have guidelines. You do this, you don't do that. This is the area you work in, this is the price point. I feel like only when I will be able to go and just make the decisions and make a success of it, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
You were saying
I'll feel like, content. I'll feel a level of accomplishment, I think.
Are you saying because then you can rely on yourself.
Yeah, because I made the decision, went well, I can own it all. It's all me.
It might not go well sometimes, but still
Yeah,
you.
but correct. And then you own it, and then you learn, and then you make a success of it.
What I think about all the time is, it's all on me. I've got to make sure we're bringing enough deals, doing enough business that this works, and I'm also then responsible for our team. Because you're, for the most part now, you haven't got anyone underneath you. So you're reliant for you and you only, essentially. My let's say, issue now is I feel that reliance on the team around me. People that I like and I want them to grow and succeed. So I'm like, I've got to make sure that we make a success to make sure we're all doing well.
Yeah.
So it comes with that.
Of course.
Another.
If I get to the place, everything has its. I wouldn't say problems. Problems is the wrong word, but whatever you do, everything has its own challenges. And if you get to where you want, I'll have different challenges that I face now. I totally get that. But that's the beauty of life, right? You don't know where you're going. You don't know, where you're going to be tomorrow. And then what comes with it off the back of it. But that's the beauty of life. You've got to think on your feet, and you're always learning.
Do you think you're making all the decisions you want to do now, or how much is it like? No, this isn't a bad way. How often are you thinking?
I wouldn't have had the podcast at 9 a.m.
What time would you have had it?
10:30.
Oh, you would have gone later.
Yeah, a bit later. You were going to say earlier.
No,
you're an early riser, aren't you?
Right.
You got 2 kids.
Because I have to, dog and kids. But so I thought you would have been like, I would have done it earlier so that I can get it done and then move on. I meant more so, for example, I'm talking about this in my sense versus your sense here. My mentor, I've got a few, but someone I've always looked to is my dad. Like I've always looked to him for advice, but it's come with negatives because I'm always thinking like, what would my dad want me to be doing? And that's not necessarily what I want to be doing. And a big thing for me in growing has been like detangling that.
Well, so that's what I have with Danny.
I was about to say, so for you, this isn't a bad way with you, and I'm sure Danny would be like, the ultimate thing is that Benji doesn't even need to turn to me.
Yeah. Oh, and that's what I'm saying. But when I get to that point, is when I truly think I'll have his respect.
But this is where I find it interesting. So I am confident he's like, you've got his respect fully.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's a thing for you to go, when is it something that Danny would be like, like Benji's done the right thing here? Because I'm saying I have this with my dad and I'm getting more and more untangled from it where I'm like, would my dad think this is the right thing to do? And it's like...
And I guess this is part of what I'm saying, that when you're your own person, and listen, we're still young, and for the best part of our life, our parents have helped us.
Yeah.
But then it's when you're standing on your own 2 feet and you are your own person, you've made all the decisions. I think that's what what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, look, Benji, really appreciate you coming to chat about a whole host of subjects. For me, I love learning more about you specifically, a bit more of an insight. I'm sure people watching and listening will enjoy it. So I just want to say thank you. Much appreciated.
Thank you for having me.
And can I have a hug?
Yeah, of course. Love that.